let's begin with the only weeknight game in FBS this week, and it's on Friday night. Illinois taking on Kansas. We've got Kansas currently about a 3-point home favorite here in this game. The total bet up slightly. 55 was the opener. Now seeing 56.5 here in this game. I wasn't impressed with Illinois, even in a win last week against Toledo. I thought defense showed some holes that were concerning to me a little bit. Daquan Finn ends up throwing for 230 yards passing in that game. The combination of Jaquez Stewart and Daquan Finn, who is a mobile quarterback, dual threat, they combined for over 150 rushing yards. As a team, Toledo had 186 rushing yards. And for an Illinois defense that was so stout last year, you don't necessarily expect that kind of success from Toledo running the ball, but they did. I thought Illinois, we talked about them, Altmaier, a steady game. He didn't light it up. It wasn't a ton of explosiveness in the Illinois offense, but boy, he made that incredible play late to lead Illinois into field goal position to win that game. He just threw the ball downfield with big pressure on him. And he ended up completing it to give them that opportunity. He also ran 69 yards. He's got some athleticism to him. You look at Josh McCray, Reggie Love, the third, obviously big time shoes to fill when Chase Brown departs from last year's team, but they ended up having 88 rushing yards combined. Didn't have the success running the football as much as I think they had hoped, but they get the win 30-28. You can't really say too much about Kansas. I mean, they played Missouri State, an FCS team, and they were able to get the job done. And they were able to get the job done even though they rested their number one quarterback. Jalen Daniels didn't play in that game. He's been battling an injury. They wanted to make sure he was good to go for this game. It looks like he is probable to start here for Kansas. Jason Bean was the quarterback against Missouri State, and he's a very capable backup. In fact, he's a very good backup. You saw what he did last year at times for Kansas when Daniels got hurt. He was able to come in there and play quite well. This is a tough game from a side perspective because Illinois is one of those teams that I said coming into the year, I like to be, not fall off as some people thought, losing DeVito at quarterback, losing Chase Brown at running back, but it didn't overly impress me as much as I thought they would, considering I laid the points with Illinois against Toledo, having to survive and win that game. And I know I'm high on Kansas. I was last year for sure. The question's going to be, how do they fare here? They're going to have Daniels most likely back at quarterback. More than anything in this game, I'm looking more at the total. I think we could see points. You factor in Kansas's offensive strengths. They're going to play up tempo. They can run it. They can throw it. And if you look at Illinois and what they want to do, they want to run the football. So it's going to be the fast-paced, up-tempo offense of Kansas versus the run heavy, slow it down offense of Illinois. But the weakness for Kansas is the defensive front. I think their secondary is actually the strength of that defense. But the defensive front was bullied a bit last year, and teams could run on them. And I think over time you could see improvement there. But I think if you're Illinois, you're going to be able to have some success running the football, and that's going to make the whole offense better because Illinois is one of those teams where when they can't run the football, it's hard for them to execute at a high level on offense. So as of right now, I don't have a bet on the side, but I do have some interest in this total up and over 56.5, as long as the weather, and I think the weather is going to be fine Friday night. I'm seeing 32 degrees Celsius over in the 90s Fahrenheit. Very hot night coming up Friday night in Lawrence, Kansas for this game. Conor, what do you think here? Illinois, Kansas, Friday night lights.
Yeah, Friday night lights. The only real game here, Friday night. I think this might be the only time, but I'm not sure. I have to go through that. Let's go through Illinois. Bielema talked about it. I thought the defense was soft. Obviously, we all think Toledo maybe is the best team in the MAC, or top 2 or 3. As the MAC kind of got destroyed. Somebody just put that in the chat. They had a rough time. ATS Toledo, the only one covering in that one. I thought they were okay, but for how experienced this defense is, they kind of just got gashed. Really, through the air over about 200, but the ground was what surprised me. You mentioned about almost 190 yards on the ground there. I think Altmaier was okay. That's basically what he's going to do. He's just like a simple quarterback, try not to make too many mistakes. He did have a pick in this one. Kansas, they want Jalen Daniels back, obviously. And I don't know if he's a go with the back. We're going to have to wait with that. You talked about Bean. He came in last year, solid backup, and then he'll be solid if he has to play in this one. I can't here with Kansas. I do think they're a little bit weaker defensively. I'm leaning to Illinois in the points, but I wanted to get to the total. If that defense is the same with Illinois, you're right. This game will have a bunch of points and go over. But I think hitting practice, it's back to 101 here. Drills, all that stuff for Illinois that everyone thought would be a top 10, even maybe a top 5 defense. So Kansas overs their money. You know that, Babano. That's why you're looking to the over here. I mean, the last 5. But Kansas hasn't been good against the number, as they were the darlings last year, the first 8 or 9 weeks. They're also 0-5 the last 5 against the number. So I look at under. I think this might be too high, but I need to see more throughout the week here. This is a wait, but I'm looking the other way on this total.
All right, looking at maybe the under here with Illinois, Kansas. It's one of those games where it's, Kansas is explosive offensively, and Illinois is going to run heavy, and of course the running clock means an offense like Illinois, that's good for the under because they run the ball so much, and now the clock no longer stops after every first down. But my concern, you're right, was that defense of Illinois. When you're giving up 28 points to Toledo, and especially if Jalen Daniels plays at quarterback in this game for Kansas, that's not what I want to see from a defense going on the road against a team like this. We'll see, though, if Jalen is able to suit up at QB for Kansas after they rested him last week and gave Jason Bean the start, knowing that they beat Missouri State anyway, even with Jason Bean at quarterback.